Shabbat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Aviva Bass, and I'm coming to you live from Delray Beach, Florida, from Temple Sinai of Palm Beach County. Cantor Jake is off tonight, and we wish him a great, well-deserved night off. We're going to begin tonight's service with the candle lighting and the Kiddush, and I'm going to invite a couple of people I know pretty well to join me up here to light candles and to offer our Kiddush this evening. So Doreen Solkoff, my mother-in-law, and Scott Solkoff, my husband, will lead us in the candles and the Kiddush respectively.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much. I just wanted everyone to be able to see this beautiful Kiddush cup while Scott leads us in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'yahava uvratzon, hinkilanu, zikaron lamase v'reishit. Ki hu yom tehila lamikrae kodesh, zecher tziat mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, b'yava uvratzon, hinkaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Thank you. Sweet. Shabbat Shalom, honey.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom. Shabbat shalom.
you. Thank you so much, Mom and Scott, for starting us off so nicely. And now some other announcements. Tonight's Erev Shabbat service is sponsored by Judy and David Stern in honor of their 57th wedding anniversary, and that is on Sunday. So happy anniversary. Carol Anderson in memory of her mother, Anna Westenhofer. Lori Leonard in memory of her beloved mother, Claire Bennett. Pam Nadler and Mark Sickles in memory of Pam's beloved brother, Steve Brown. And Helene and Sydney Wortell in memory of Goldie and Charles Wortell. Tomorrow's Shabbat Torah study, tomorrow Saturday, April 10th, is sponsored by Irving Goldstein in memory of his beloved mother, Lillian Goldstein, Janet and Sheldon Thaler in memory of Janet's father, Leon Levy, Andy and Seth Dinsky in memory of Ida Walicki, Leslie and Michael Eischen in memory of Seal Eischen, Ruth Helzik in memory of Jean Golmitz, Marcia Weber in memory of Rose Milstein, Linda Gangler in memory of her father, Harold J. Rubin, Jill and Neil Broadman in memory of Dr. Marla Ince. And donations to our community food pantries are sponsored by Irving Goldstein in memory of his beloved mother, Lillian Goldstein. Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing, and thank you to all who donated to make our services and our community prosper. We start now with Shalom Aleichem, which is a song about angels. And you can find the words to this song on page 142. And if you know it, I invite you to sing along with me. I'm going to be singing the Debbie Friedman version of the Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Barchuni l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shuvchem l'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And thank you to all of our angels, our messengers of God, all of those who are with us this evening, and many who are not listening now, but who are part of our community nonetheless. We're ready now for the Baruch, the call to worship, and those who are able to do so, please rise for the Baruch. page 394. We continue on page 148 as we read the English together. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We turn to page 150 as we join together for Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Akein Adonai Eloheinu B'shachbeinu u'v'kumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla ve'atavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Those who are able to do so, whose custom it is to rise for the Shema, please do so now for page 152, the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu We continue on page 154 with Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. On page 157, we continue. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. We continue on page 158 with the Mi Chamocha. Please join me. Mi Chamocha Elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilo tosefele nora tehilo tosefele mochotecha ra'uvanecha bokei hayom lifnei Moshe u'Miriam zelianu ve'amru zelianu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 V'nemar ki fad Adonai et Yaakov v'galo miad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga Yisrael. In a moment we will go into the tefillah, and we will have a time of silent prayer after the first few blessings of the tefillah. When we go into our own silent prayers, I invite you to think of something that you want to take with you from this past week into your Shabbat. Think of a good moment this past week that you want to hold on to and keep it in your heart. We join together in beginning the brachot for the tefillah on page 164. Those who are able to do so, please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach Ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atarav lehoshia. Morid hatal, Mechakel chayim v'chesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'gevurot umido melach, melech memit umchaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'emanat alachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. We come now to the time in our service that we think of those who are in need of healing, healing of body, mind, spirit, or of all three. And so I invite you now, if you have a name or names of people you are thinking of who are in need of such healing, please say their names aloud now. So for all of those we have named, as well as all of those we are about to see the names of on the screen in a moment, all of them, we sing this Misha Berach, this prayer for healing. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, vLeah, Hu Yivarech, veYirapeh et hacholim. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, vLeah, Hu Yivarech, veYirapeh et hacholim. Ana refana la, Ana refana la, Ana refana la, Ana refana la. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, vLeah, Hu Yivarech, veYirapeh et hacholim. Last Shabbat, we observed the 7th day of Pesach, on which we read of our exodus from Egypt. It is thought to be the actual day that we crossed the Sea of Reeds into the wilderness, leaving behind our slavery, the evil Pharaoh, and our oppressive overlords. At the same time, last Saturday, in the modern land of Egypt, there was a grand celebration. Perhaps some of you saw it. 18 male mummies and 4 female mummies of the pharaohs and queens of ancient Egypt were transported from their old museum to a brand new state-of-the-art museum of Egyptian culture in Cairo, Egypt. This could have been accomplished just by trucks and drivers and staff equipped for such a move without much fanfare. Yet the Egyptian government decided to make a very big and public display of it. In the wake of the tremendous drop in tourism last year, in the wake of the pandemic, the government believed, and perhaps rightly so, that making this a huge international spectacle would serve the purpose of increasing interest in Egyptian culture and heritage, and in the new museum. For those who have not seen it, I definitely recommend watching it on YouTube, watching this parade. Even without translations for much of it, just watching the pageantry and hearing the music makes it well worth hearing and watching. It is a tremendous spectacle, which the Egyptian government invested many millions of dollars to create. I would say that this presentation is on the level of the spectacular opening or closing ceremonies of the Olympic Games. It is that well produced and well done. Part of it involves watching the President of Egypt and a few other dignitaries as they take a tour of the new museum, which has many interesting things to see. And it includes a presentation which is shown to the dignitaries of the entire parade, as well as an orchestra and chorus performing a beautiful composition inspired by the pageantry, and a video about Egypt today, which actually includes footage of the sites of worship of 3 religions. It includes a mosque, a Catholic church, and the Great Synagogue of Cairo, which is beautiful and well worth seeing. And the video stresses how open modern Egypt is to worshipers of all faiths and people of all backgrounds. The main message that is brought through the many speakers of the event, and most of which is subtitled in English on the bottom of the screen when they actually have the speakers. The main message is the ingenuity and beautiful heritage of Egypt. The mummies are paraded through Cairo in modern black sarcophagi on special trucks that are inscribed with each of their names in gold lettering, both in hieroglyphics and in English. And these are fitted with special stabilizers to transport the mummies in them safely. And they're driven along the parade route, which is lined by Egyptian soldiers who are seated upon beautiful white horses at attention. It's fantastic to watch, really amazing. Since I was a middle school aged kid, I have had a fascination with ancient Egyptian culture and the mummification and beautiful objects from the ancient pyramids. I must admit that I've always had mixed feelings about taking the mummies and their objects from their pyramids to place in museums out of respect of all religions' death rituals, but I've always thought ancient Egyptian archaeology was really cool, and frankly, I still do. It was amazing to watch this presentation last week. Yet, watching all of these mummies of the pharaohs and hearing and seeing who they were at the time, thousands of years ago, I couldn't help but notice the coincidence of these events, that this was occurring on the very day on which Jews all over the world were celebrating our liberation from Egypt, which we call Mitzrayim, which in Hebrew means the narrow or constricted place. And I thought to myself, perhaps one of these very mummies, one of these kings or queens of Egypt, was related to the Pharaoh, the villain of our Pesach Haggadah. And I also kept thinking, as each speaker was praising Egyptian ingenuity in the building of the pyramids and the culture that included all of what was being displayed, I kept thinking, what about us and all the others like us? Why didn't the speakers acknowledge that all of this beautiful ancient culture was all built literally on the backs of slaves as a result of our and perhaps other slave labor? Most of the cultures of the world who have oppressed people have begun to come to terms with that oppression, acknowledging it and beginning to think about how to improve the relationship of the majority culture with that minority that had been oppressed. Certainly, white Americans are not finished with that process, as recent events in our country have proven. But at least it is on the radar that we acknowledge how morally wrong it was to enslave blacks in our country and the legacy that this has left for everyone. After all these millennia, can't the Egyptians acknowledge that the Hebrews and other slaves helped to build up their ancient culture? Their role, our role, and the moral wrongness of their society in having done this? But mostly when I watched this, I felt a wave of Jewish pride. Most of the cultures of the world that were thriving millennia ago are gone. Despite the fact that there is a modern Egypt, it is not the same culture and religious organization that existed. That has been lost to history. As grand as it was, and as phenomenal the presentation, the culture and religion represented in that parade is long gone. It was a parade of historical artifacts. By contrast, our promised land, the land our ancestors were wandering toward in their freedom from the oppression of Egypt, is still here and thriving. We have a modern state of Israel, and it is founded on the basis of our ancient religion and culture of Judaism. It is the Jewish state. We celebrate both ancient and modern Israel, and they are linked by a common language and textual traditions, beginning with our Torah. We now enter the week in which we will celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, Israeli Independence Day, the 73rd anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel. And it is very much alive in its religion and culture. And so are we as Jews. Judaism, the religion, and the peoplehood are thriving. Our most sacred objects, the menorah and Ark of the Covenant and temple artifacts, were sadly plundered 2,000 years ago. But the spirit of our people and the religion of our people have lived on. They have evolved in every society in which we have lived, but they have survived and thrived. We carry that spirit within us, and we celebrate our people's liberation throughout much of our liturgy, even today. So I invite you to watch the YouTube video of Egypt if you haven't seen it. It is truly fascinating. But this week, also please watch the ceremonies coming out of the State of Israel. Those mourning Israel's lost soldiers on Yom HaZikaron, and then those celebrating Israeli independence and statehood on Yom HaAtzmaut, which we will celebrate together next Friday night. Am Yisrael Chai. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, so this is the time of the year on which we count. We are counting from Pesach, which we experienced just a couple weeks ago, through to Shavuot, which is our time of revelation. And we count upwards. We count 7 times 7 weeks, or 49 days, until we get to day 50, which we don't count. We just say the brachot because it is Shavuot, which is both an agricultural festival and also the festival on which we celebrate the receiving of our Torah. So I'd like to invite you all to, if you are able to do so, to rise for the Aleinu, but also for the counting of the Omer. And the bracha for counting the Omer is Al Sfirat HaOmer. And I'll give you a hint as to what day it is, because last night through to sundown tonight was day 12. So that gives you a hint. So let's say the bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al Sfirat HaOmer. Today is day 13 of the Omer. May it be for good. And now we stay rising, please. Stay standing if you are able to do so as we turn to the Aleinu on page 586. 586. Please join me. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gerula leotze breshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anach Please take a seat. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and nothing but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each one of our lives is worth the life of the entire world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life, now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. This week we recall the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of these people whose names are on the plaques surrounding the sanctuary in our synagogue building. Renee Axelrod, Abe Bandel, Claire Bennett, Zion DeFries Bernstein, Frida T. Brown, Sylvia Chait, Yetta Cohen, Jacob Dakar, Martin J. Elias, Clara Hilt family, Edward Hilt family, Anne Friedman, Louis Garin, Jean Golmitz, Charles Harrison, Milton N. Hoffman, Birkin family Holocaust victims, Lena Levy, Harry Marks, Jean Menon, Beatrice Mothner, Beatrice Pierce, Sidney J. Rodner, Louis Satoloff, Charles Banks Schachter, Lottie Soroka, Samuel H. Stein, Ethel Onigman Stroom, William L. Wolfson, and Manuel Yadowitz. Others recalled at this time: Lottie Bamberger, Steve Brown, Seal Eischen, Harry Epstein, Henry Feller, Lillian Goldstein, Marla Ince, Richard Kahan, Murray J. Levine, Leon Levy, Evelyn Myers, Rose Milstein, Charles Nadell, Herbert Salkin, Evelyn Tankel, Goldie Wortell, Ida Walecki, and Anna Westenhofer. Those whose deaths are more recent: Rabbi Solomon Schiff, Zichrono Livracha, and we have just learned of a passing of a former member of our community. We just learned of it now, but Warren Bennett passed away on December 27th of 2020, a few months ago. And so we send our condolences to that family as well. If you are thinking of someone whom I have not named, please say their name aloud now. And so for all of those whom we have named, all of those who have died as a result of terror in the past few weeks in our country and in our world, and all of those who were murdered by the Nazis in the Shoah, we rise in solidarity with mourners everywhere as we turn to page 598 for the Mourners Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divara chirute v'amlich malchute, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabam Vorach Leolam Ulal Me'alamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitormam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal Shemei Dekudashah B'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn among us and in all communities of the world. And let us all say, Amen. Please take a seat. Our closing song is a song that is used on many occasions on Shabbat. Actually, I first learned it as a table song, as one of the zmirot that we sing at the Shabbat table traditionally. And that is called Yedid Nefesh. And Yedid Nefesh can be found, if you don't know it already, the words can be found on page 128, because it's often done as an opening song, but we're going to do it tonight as our closing. Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh of Rachaman, Yedid Nefesh of Rachaman, Mishoch Avdecha, El Ritzonecha, Mishoch Avdecha, Yelai, El Ritzonecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Kemo Ayal, Yishtachavei Yalai, El Mol Hadarecha. Yedid Nefesh of Rachaman, Yedid Nefesh of Rachaman, Mishoch Avdecha, Yalai, El Hadarecha, Mishoch Avdecha, Yalai, El Ritzonecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Kemo Ayal, Yishtachavei Yalai, El Mol Hadarecha. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. And as we put our closing slide up for everybody, I want to remind everyone that tomorrow morning is the Bar Mitzvah service of Jack Fisher, and the Fisher family has invited you to join their Zoom, so you should have that in your email if you wish to join for that service tomorrow morning. And tomorrow at noon, as usual, we will have our Torah study. So please join us for the remainder of our Shabbat services and events. Shabbat Shalom.